Politicians doing great, just be patient, have faith. Global warming so real, to the top gasoline. So true, so true. Finally true. Many fingers pointing at me, yelling just conspiracy. Man, I'm just out of box, still sound of Stevie Fox. At the end I wanna say, we just need to sit and pray. Hit me like a rocky, true, don't be no monkey. It's not logical, oceans on the ball. Staring like a moon in my aging balloon overseas. Magic of gravity, welcome to the hood. Reality of Hollywood, welcome to the hood. Reality of Hollywood. The biggest crime is in a bank, call it just a money prank. But these men walking still free, folks are call it misery. So true. So true. Only you. Moon is acting very strange, pouring out of sun range, building tons of concrete, kicking nature to defeat. At the end I wanna say, we just need to sit and pray. Shoot me like a rocky, true, don't be no monkey. It's not logical, oceans on the ball. Staring like a moon in my aging balloon flying overseas. Magic over gravity, welcome to the hood. Reality of Hollywood, welcome to the hood. Reality of Hollywood. So true, yeah. Only you. From a monkeys to the space, call it just a human race. Kids are dying from disease, on the bottom of the list. At the end I wanna say, we just need to sit and pray. Shoot me like a rocky, true, don't be no monkey. It's not logical, oceans on the ball. Staring like baboon in my aging balloon overseas. Magic over gravity, welcome to the hood. Reality of Hollywood, welcome to the hood. Reality of Hollywood. Welcome to the hood. Welcome to the hood. Reality of Hollywood. I hope you get what you need.
All right. I hope I did that right, man. I'm feeling so rough that there's no way I'm gonna let y'all see me today. Well, actually, what am I saying? You can see me there. I go right there. I'm on screen. You can see me there in a nice suit with a nice tie on, looking very chipper, am I not? However, that is not the case right now. In reality, I'm not going to say it's only because of the way I was raised or my dad or my mom or whoever, but something inside of me when I get down and out, it makes me want to do the things that I feel like I should do more. And don't get me wrong, I've laid in bed so much over the last 48 hours or so, it's kind of all blending together, that my back is very, very sore. I mean, the small of my back is just beat up. So I'm not trying to tell you that I've been out running marathons or doing anything, unusual, but I've fed my birds, I've pick the produce out of my garden. I haven't done any weeding, but it doesn't need to be done, thank goodness. I've done the things that have to be done. I've done the things that need to be done, and I've done them more on time than I usually do. And like I said, I don't really know why. I'm going to do my best today, folks, to just talk about a couple things that have been on my mind. But I just, one more time, so I can bellyache a little bit more, I want to remind you that I'm pretty ill. So if I seem to be off my game, well, I am off my game. I have eaten, with my wife gets these little Morningstar Farm sausages. They're fake sausages, what they are. Morningstar Farms. I can't remember what the actual product is called. But they're just fake little sausage patties. In fact, I think that might be what they're called, Morningstar Farm sausage patties. And then since Monday, I've eaten 4 of those and 2 bowls of soup, 2 bowls of what we call Get Better soup. It's Jewish penicillin. It's just the only thing I didn't have is chicken feet. And I mean, it may just be psychosomatic. Don't get me wrong. But I've believed in the power of the chicken feet for years. You know, if you're down and out and you need something to help you feel better, you make the chicken soup, but you boil 4 feet in with that. Now, you don't have to eat the feet. I personally don't. They're pretty much boiled off the bone by the time it's all done. And no finer print, I personally did not try the onion and honey, and I know that the Britisher hasn't, but I'm going to tell you what, brother, if I feel bad tomorrow, I'm going to try it, because nobody that I know of has better home remedies than Hebrews. They just seem to really have it together. But if you missed it, I have been using the Jewish penicillin, i.e. chicken soup, just without the feet. But yeah, I'll get around to the honey and lemon, because I said, or excuse me, honey and onion. But as I said, I haven't eaten anything but the soup and the little fake sausage patties. But I have eaten honey. I've eaten probably 5 or 6 tablespoons full of honey. And I don't drink alcohol anymore. So I had Mrs. Ogre get me some O'Doul's Dark. And the idea behind that is something that has a little bit of barley in it. You know, it has a little bit of something in it. Because I'm telling you right now, not that I couldn't lose a few pounds, but it's not the way that I meant to. I must have lost, I'm going to guess, probably 15 pounds in the last 3 days, just from not being able to do much. I haven't been, you know, I'm not going to get all graphic on here. We're all here trying to have a good time, and you're probably at the end of listening to my woes. But I've only expelled something, you know, the wrong way. I've only regurgitated, I've only vomited twice in this entire time. Now, I've felt like I was going to vomit many times. In fact, Monday, when we had the academic agent on, I was laying on the couch behind me here. I'm actually sitting up in my chair now. Believe it or not, I don't know if I move this, if you could even see it, and it doesn't matter. But I'm sitting here. Maybe you can see my hand wave. See the hand wave there? I'm actually sitting up in my chair. So for me, it's a bit of an improvement. And here, Razor Edgelord said, "Take a night off." Well, I don't know, Razor. I probably should. Maybe I should. But what else would I be doing? And believe me, if it was something that was taking much more to do than what I'm doing right now, I would be taking the night off of this, because as we know, I do this because it's a good release for myself, and I hope that I'm bringing some entertainment, and that the Britishers bringing some entertainment and some information to you, and we just enjoy it. I know the Britisher enjoys it. We talk after show, and we talk on our days off, and we get together, and we kind of discuss why it is we do this. Honestly, neither one of us have given the other one like a straight up reason. Here is why I'm on YouTube, Britisher, or Mr. Ogre. Here's why I do it. It's not come out that way, but I do believe, I can at least speak for myself, it's just a nice release. I live way up here in the country. I'm a farmer. I got a little homestead farm where I grow lots of vegetables, lots of produce. I have 120 odd chickens. I don't know how many, to be honest. I got over 100 chickens. And so I don't run into a lot of people. I mean, as much as I talk to the chickens, they don't talk back. They don't say nothing. The dang on cluckers. They just run around doing their chicken stuff, and they ain't got nothing to say back to me. Now, Mrs. Ogre speaks to me when I've been really good. No, we actually talk all the time. We communicate very well. That's probably one of the reasons we've been together for over 2 decades. But it's the same person. So to me, even in this situation right here, where it's Wednesday, then it's the middle of the summer, few people are here right now, but it's not like it's a bang up crowd that we sometimes get. It's just there's a few of us here, but that doesn't matter. I still have this release that I am speaking to someone else at this point. And maybe as we hang in here, you folks will start talking to me via chat, which no one seems to want to do today except for Razor Edgelord and the finer print, excuse me. If you hear a little bit of extra noise, superfluous noise, I'm so sorry. There's not much I can do about it. There's these things happening right now inside of me that seem to be affecting my voice. I'm not really stuffy. I don't have a lot of mucus buildup or anything like that, but it's affecting my voice. Something's going on with my throat. And I do think it's having some kind of small effect on my lungs. And yeah, Artemis on Twitter, he says, hey, brother, how you finding the day? He says, the weather has been amazing, and I figured you'd be appreciating it as well. And I'm not sure if Artemis' brain sample is just busting my cojones. I think he knows that I've not been feeling that great. But I'm not feeling good, Artemis, or I probably would be out. It's been nice. Actually, right now it's kind of storming. Not storming, but oh, all right. Well, I was just talking to somebody about doing some art, but apparently they can't. That's okay. No worries. Yeah, so anyway, as it's flagging here, and I don't know, it's not like there's a real pressing something going on, but I'm just gonna tell you all a little story here in a minute. I'm trying to type and act like I can talk at the same time. Now, sometimes I can. On a normal day, I can kind of BS my way through sending somebody a little something or other, but it's tough today. I don't know if I could walk and chew bubble gum at the same time as I stand right now. So I'm not gonna try. Oh, anyway, yeah, you never know. You never know what life's gonna bring you. I was not too long ago sitting in this very chair, conducting this very show, and thinking to myself, well, thank goodness the Brit's way over there across the pond right now, because it doesn't seem like it'll be very probable that I would get ill, that I'm going to catch this, whatever's going around. I'm not going to get this thing. Well, guess what, people? We travel with airplanes now, and I mean, everything happens in just a wink of an eye. And so here I am, dying. I'm about ready to see Artemis brain samples out here and Gabe the pony. Hey, Gabe, do you feel like swinging by, sir? If you do, I'll send you out the dealio. It's a little bit of a slow day, so I mean, if you want to wait for a day when there's a bunch of people here, I mean, I understand, but you never know with this program. Some folks could show up later, and besides that, this is always up for posterity. Here I am. I'm so ill that I keep mentioning the numbers of folks watching me right now instead of telling you a story of what could be. Well, we never know what's going to happen. While I'm sitting way over here across the pond, of course, I'll never get this from the Britisher. People were getting on airplanes. They were getting on trains and buses, getting in their personal automobiles. They were walking, for goodness sakes. They still do that from time to time, and riding bicycles and meeting each other in Meijer and whatever stores they go to, and shaking hands and sneezing on one another and everything else. And of course, this thing has passed from human being to human being, and it appears from continent to continent. Because I didn't know if the Brit just got ill and it was all on him, but he let me know, no, everybody in his kingdom is ill right now. It seems like it's going around. And he gave me the good news is that he was down and out for a good solid 10 days, and still after, oh, I don't know, must be 14 days at this point, still not feeling that great. How terrible are summer illnesses? I mean, let's face it, in the wintertime when things are going a little slow anyway and it's cold out, and a lot of times the best place to be is, quietly toasting with your feet on the hob and a nice cup of Earl Grey or green tea or whatever it is that you like to drink, and letting the steam rise up into your face and just hearing the howling of the wind outside. I'm not saying that anyone wants to be sick at that point, but at least you're already in a position where the best thing to do would be to bundle up in front of the heater, bundle up in front of a cozy crackling fire, and relax. But right now, I mean, yeah, you're right, Artemis, it's beautiful out. Well, and as I said, it's storming right now, but it was beautiful earlier today, and it's going to be beautiful again. It's been beautiful the last couple of days, and here I am going outside 3 times a day as my chores demand, with a scowl on my face and a dizzy head and fumbling from thing to thing. And I can't even take the time to enjoy the weather or the whatever, the trees and the sunshine. I'll tell you, where I live, it's a paradise. We're known as the Great Lakes State, but among each other up here in Michigan, we like to call ourselves the sportsman's paradise. And we don't just mean sportsmen that would go out and would hunt animals. We mean sportsmen that like to ride their quads, their snowmobiles, their ATVs. We mean sportsmen that like to go out and look at birds in nature with their binoculars and their cameras and take pictures. We're talking about sportsmen that like to hike, that like to explore the land on foot. We're talking about sportsmen that like to ride the Pierre Marquette Trail, the rail trail they call it, and ride their bicycles across this wonderful state. We're talking about sportsmen, people that enjoy a bit of sport, whether that be a softball game with the boys from the mill, whether that be a knitting circle with the old ladies from church, or whether it be riding your bicycle with your young children through the beautiful Michigan evening. Whatever it is, we really tend to be sportsman oriented. We love the outdoors. We love the outdoors when we, by all rights, should be indoors. I mean, you take a Michigander and you give him what for? You give him his ways and means and the ability to do whatever it is that he wants to do. And 9 times out of 10, whether it's snowing outside and 10 degrees or it's sunny and 85 degrees, 9 times out of 10, they're going to take you outside. They're going to go into the great outdoors. We love it here. We love to be out in nature. We love to be out in nature when that nature is a city. Can't you find nature in the city? I used to feel so bad. I used to think, how do these people in the big cities, how do they get by without being able to go for a nature walk? Well, I'll be doggone. With some of the animals that live in the cities nowadays, you can go for a nature walk on Broad Street. You can go to 42nd Avenue in the village, Greenwich Village, and you see all kinds of nature, don't you? All kinds of wildlife out there. So I tell you, I've visited New York City a couple times, more than a couple times, but I visited New York City a couple times where I had a lot of time. And the last time I was there was about 9 months before the towers came down. That lets you know how long ago it's been. But that last time I was there, I also was able to take 3 days and to really enjoy that town. I enjoyed that town at a time where first went down and got on the subway, and I'm looking on how to navigate my way through the subway situation, and an officer friendly notices me from about 100 feet away. He was, and he starts to meander on down. He's kind of got his thumbs hooked in his belt, and Mrs. Ogre and myself and a couple dear friends were there, and you know, he meanders his way down as I'm looking at this machine on, for tokens on how to get your pass. Because back then, I don't know how it is now, but back then, if you got the pass, the transit pass, it covered buses and subways. So you pretty much had your line on the entire city right there. So he meandered his way down before I figured it out. And he was like, oh, it's $4 a piece. And I'm not even going to try the accent. It's $4 a piece. He said, so get your $5 out. When he said that, I was reaching in my pocket to pull it out. And I pulled out my ounce of marijuana that was there with my money. I mean, my business partner at the time and myself had just gotten really stoned. And so I was halfway to the moon. And I pulled this bag out, and I remember I looked at the bag, and I looked at it up at him, and he looked at the bag, and then he looked me right in the eyes. He said, get your $5 out and put it in the machine, and it'll give you a golden dollar back, and then you'll have your 24-hour pass. He never mentioned that. He didn't talk about letting me off the hook, and maybe it was my straight white privilege. I mean, for goodness sake, who knows? He might have busted me had I been Latino or black or Asian. You know, he may have not only busted me if I was black, hell, he might have shot me and thrown me, my lifeless corpse, in front of a subway car there. Of course, because, you know, black people have it so terrible and white people are so privileged. But anyway, that really got me off in the weeds, didn't it? Because I've been thinking about this today. By the way, Staggers and Jags let me know, did anybody see that Charlie Gard's parents have come to their senses? They've come to their senses. They did the hard thing, and they decided to let go of their boy. And where that really brings me down a notch and makes me feel, you know, makes me feel like one would feel when you consider that life is fleeting. And while we sit here, wherever we happen to be today, gathering together, we don't like to keep it in the forefront of our minds. In fact, as humans, we're pretty good at leaving this inevitable thing off somewhere in the distance and not really addressing it. But these folks did address it. And the hard thing here with Charlie Gard is not for Charlie. The hard thing for Charlie was living. And look, doctors can be wrong. But when you have a group of doctors whose life mission is to take care of children, come together and say, there's no hope. There's no hope for this young person. This person is gone. There's nothing we can do. You kind of got to ask yourself, why would they say that if it wasn't true? And then you have to get down to doing the difficult thing. Because as I was saying, for Charlie Gard, the difficult thing, folks, was to live. Charlie was in a lot of pain. There was no hope for the young person to go on and to live a normal life, to live any life. There was no chance of that. So the difficulty now begins for the parents. Well, and to a point also, doesn't it end for them too? I mean, can't we all agree that they must have some release now that their beloved Charlie has gone off into that great beyond that we know not of? They have to be able to take a deep breath tonight, have a sigh, and just say, you know, it's over, and it's better. It's better this way, if not for us at this moment, but for Charlie. And I tell you what, folks, it's hard for me, but I'm going to go ahead and just say it. As human beings, we want to believe there's something else, right? There's something else we can do. No matter what we've tried or what we're doing and what the experts say, we always want to feel like, no, we can go to this doctor in a faraway land and we can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and hopefully Charlie will live. But there was no chance of that. I have a dog now. And listen, people are going to hate me. I don't blame you. But I'm not drawing a comparison with my dog and a human being, all right? To me, my dog is very important, but I'm not stupid. I do understand that there is a vast difference between my love for my dog, Lily, and Charlie's love for him. But I had a dog, Thorn dog. She was beautiful. She's the reason that I have Lily dog now as a Doberman Pinscher, because I only own Pit Bull Terriers. And then I got this Pit Bull Terrier and Doberman mix, and that was my Thorn dog. And I tell you, Lily has all of those characteristics. But let me stick with this. So Thorn She was a wild dog, man. She loved beer and whiskey. I'm not even kidding you. She would drink straight whiskey. If Mrs. Ogre was here, she'd nod her head. Some people probably just can't fathom that, but she would snort and snuffle. But if you poured whiskey in a bowl, she'd drink it down, man. And in fact, she drank a couple people under the table through her life. So, and I let her do that foolishly as her master. And it took its toll on her. By the time she was about 14, she had bone cancer. And I spent $1,850 to have titanium rods put in my beloved thorn dog's back leg when my veterinarian, Dr. Siegert, was saying, no, listen, Ogre, there's nothing you're going to do. I'll take your money because it's not going to torture her. And after the surgery, I'm going to give you this medicine and it'll actually, it'll be some pain medicine for her. But he said, well, why don't you just take this pain medicine? He said, better yet, Mr. Ogre, why don't you come into the next room with me? Let me speak with you for a minute and give you a little counseling. And when we come back, your dog will be also gone to that great beyond. And you can carry her home with dignity and you can bury your beloved dog. And I just was appalled. And, oh, Dr. Siegert, how could you say that? Why wouldn't you hold out hope? I want her to live as long as she can possibly live. Well, yes, Mr. Ogre, says Dr. Siegert, but she has lived as long as she could possibly live. And if it wasn't for my skilled hands and my knowledge, she wouldn't live a day longer than today. But what you're doing right now is not prolonging the life of a dog that has a wonderful life. You're prolonging your ability to have this pet. You're being selfish, he told me. You're being selfish. It is now time to let go and to realize that she's had a good run, but it's all over. That taught me a good lesson because my beloved thorn dog lived another 6 months, and I had to take, I rigged up a sheet so I could hold up her back hindquarters and she could use her front legs, and I took her out where she could use the restroom. And but that dog, I don't think liked me anymore for that. I think if she could have spoke and she could have understood what Dr. Siegert was saying, she would have looked at me and she said, listen, old friend, we've ridden many miles together. We've had many a grand adventure, you and I, and had many a hunt. And we'll always be friends in that vast beyond. But right now, if you really did love me, Mr. Ogre, if you really did care about me right now, you'd let me go. You'd let me go to my grave. And as it stands right now, she has a lovely grave right out in my front yard. Her and my Mrs. Ogre's beloved Thistle dog. We had 2 dogs, Thorn and Thistle, because it says in some mythos, some scriptures from a mythos, that because of some bad decisions, mankind would be tormented by thorns and thistles all their days. So we had these 2 dogs, Thorn and Thistle, and they're now buried out there. And what did I do? For myself even, I prolonged the inevitable because Thorn is gone now. She was gone when Dr. Siegert told me it was time to let go. She's gone now, and there's nothing that can be done about it. We have to know when to let go. I mean, that's just as simple as that. I know a lot of people are thinking right now is, oh, listen to your voice, Ogre. We're showing up because, we try to be cool to you and let you know that you have some people that actually care about what you're saying and like you and the Britisher and enjoy your show. But maybe you should go somewhere, curl up in a ball and go to sleep. I will not. Oh, because whereas I was torturing my little dog a little bit by making her go on, this is only me we're talking about. So I'm going to continue on. So look, the end wrap up on that for me is we have to learn as folks to when should we let go. And I tell you, I don't even know how to express the emotion, but when Staggerson Jags sent me that DM today and was letting me know that, nope, they've let it go. They've finally decided that this child can enjoy everlasting rest and finally come into the arms of that great requiem. I was happy. I was happy for Charlie Garden. I was also happy for his parents because now they can move past this and they can go into the next stage, which would be healing, I do believe. Oh, I'm about running on half cylinders. I did notice that there's someone out there in the the chat. I'm just going to make sure that I sent them a link just in case they wanted to be on here. And of course I didn't. I did not do it. Not because I don't want them on. Lord knows I need them today, but it's because I just not thinking straight. I can kind of empathize a little bit better. In fact, I'm not sure if this is empathy, Britisher. When I now know exactly how you felt, I'm no longer trying to put myself in your place. I can actually feel what that place would be like. I'm sure that everybody can hear it in my voice. So the British are going to be here in a second, I do believe. And I think I'm going to try something else too, because I'm only on half a cylinder here. I'm going to see if one other person here wants to join in. Oh, and that's okay, Finer Print. I'm just seeing that you had to pop out. I'm sure you'll be back when you can. There's nobody taking attendance here. So everybody comes and goes as they please. But let me see if I can rustle up this one other human being I've been talking to. How you doing, Mr. Britisher?
Good evening. I can hear that you are obviously feeling very much at full strength.
Yeah, very much, mate. You can hear it in my voice, can't you?
Yes, one can definitely hear that you have it. I'm still sort of carrying around a residue that I just don't seem to be able to shake. But I had it, I would say, for perhaps just under a week at sort of full strength, and I think that's where you seem to be residing at the moment. So it seems to have just taken its time to kind of spread all across the United Kingdom. Then some unfortunate soul took it on a plane with him, landed no doubt somewhere in New York, there infested the entire state, from where it then slowly started sort of like some sort of deadly Ebola plague finding its way into various other states, and it gradually then worked its way up to your place, and now here we are. So yeah. I mean, who knows? It might be one of my coughs that has travelled all that way through this bizarre methodology.
Oh, I just thought to myself earlier, I was like, well, you know, British are probably. And see, if you lived close to me and you were ill before me, you would get this never-ending, every chance I got, me popping it in. Well, thanks for killing me, mate. Well, thanks a lot for passing on this disease, mate. You know, but at this point, I don't think I can really say that. I can't imagine that it somehow went through the ether and found its way here to my Wi-Fi and blasted itself out through my microphone. So now I doubt I got it from you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? Because normally we always think of we've got a strong echo here. You can hear my.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry.
Normally we always think of these viruses coming. So I mean, the usual place for all these viruses to emerge from is China. But now, if you think of it, it's summer. So I'm just wondering if this one has kind of popped up from the southern hemisphere, where it is winter right now. So that might be how it's kind of got up here. So it's you know, you just kind of wonder, sort of the world of sort of jet travel might make these kind of horror stories much more likely. So perhaps sort of in the future, you know, the next generation might just be walking around with flus and colds all day.
Oh man, well that's definitely a downside of this jet set age, isn't it?
Yes, because it's been given wings now. It can move around at an incredible liberty, and yeah, I mean the fact that you can in mid-July pick up a flu is just nothing short of ridiculous, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think today we could very much title this the leper show, couldn't we?
The leper. I don't want to consider myself a leper, but I don't know how. I mean, if they feel like this, yes, I must be one. Things have been falling off. No fingers yet, but boy, I tell you,
yeah,
it's hard to classify what's going on.
I heard you were talking before about the Charlie Gard situation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that is, I'm just wondering, sort of, how up to speed you are on that particular story, because. I think basically you have heard that they have now agreed that the child should die.
Yeah, that's all that I've heard. I just got that from Stag.
Yeah, you see, after that it went on because they've been back to the High Court. And basically they wanted the child to die at home. And you would sort of think, okay, it's a reasonable request. But the hospital said, no, look, it will not work because this child is on a ventilator. The ventilator wouldn't even fit through your front door. It doesn't work this way. He might be able to go to a hospice, but there is no way we can set it up for your home. Not only would he need all the machinery, but you would need an absolute cutting-edge medical team with him at all times. So this really wouldn't work. So they ended up in the High Court again over that. And again, the parents wouldn't compromise.
So that's even so they haven't decided to let him go.
Well, they have decided to let him. They have accepted that the child will now die, but now they were quarreling about where he ought to die. And the doctor has basically the judge kind of insisted, look, people, this isn't really an area where a judge should be making a ruling. I will give you some time. Can you please just sort this out amongst each other? And today, he then finally made a ruling because, again, they had simply not been able to agree. Their mediation had simply not been possible. So he basically said, look, it will be a hospice. This child is not going to die at your home because it would be an irresponsible thing to do. We need this child to at least die without any suffering or without any, we can't simply hook him up to machines, unhook him in order to carry him into the house, hook him back up again. This is not some kind of battery, and even now, so basically even once the judge has made that ruling, there was still contention about how long the child should still live. Because the doctors have basically said, look, once we remove him from the intensive care facility, he will, strictly speaking, have hours to live. And
from what I understand, he's on a vent. If they
yes.
turn that switch off, he's got 3 minutes to live.
Yeah. But they say, even without the vent or whatever, that basically long-term, they can't really sustain him without the very sophisticated machinery that is at the hospital. So they are basically saying, look, once you move him to the hospice, you are talking of hours. You're not talking, any great length of time.
And could you tell Mr. Vaughn what hospice means, sir, if you know?
A hospice is basically, it's a kind of place of last resort. These are, very often sort of charity-funded places where people who have terminal illnesses may spend their last few days.
And a lot of times it happens right at the patient's house. And they basically when hospice comes in, that means you're going to be getting so much morphine that you don't know that you're dying and you don't feel any pain. And for the few moments that you have, if you're lucky enough to have any lucidity, you can actually say goodbye to your friends, your family, and your loved ones.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the end.
So basically, now the parents, they were insisting at the High Court that it should be set up so that the child should still be here for some days. And basically it was pointed out to them that, look, the hospice doesn't really have a license to perform such a thing. They are here to basically, as you say, be a last service, not to kind of provide cutting-edge medical facility to keep someone with a very, very rare genetic disorder alive for several days. So the judge has basically today said, look, this is my final ruling on this issue. It will be at a hospice. You will either come to some sort of agreement with the medics as to how long this child is given before he dies, or it will be up to the medics, and that's it. So one almost gets the sense that, to a certain extent, the High Court judge was beginning to lose his patience. That he felt that, look, how many more times does there need to be a ruling before you understand? That this is in the child's interest, not in your interest.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with the parents at this point. And Britisher, so that I don't get all loopy and dazed and forget, this is Gabe the Pony. I thought we'd have him on the day show and see if you know, what we thought of this person, what they thought of us. How you doing, Gabe? I've never heard your voice. Shall we just call you Gabe, sir? This is the Britisher, my friend the Britisher. I think you already know a little bit about me.
Hello there.
Well, he might be working on a microphone or something. So here we go.
Perhaps there's a microphone issue there.
Same thing as always, eh, mate?
Well, yes, microphones seem to be the bane of everyone's life on any sort of broadcast. I mean, if you look at it, even with sort of, you know, the likes of Fox News and CNN, you always get that moment where they cut to some correspondent standing outside the White House or something like that, and you could just see their eyes darting left to right, but nothing happens.
I can only imagine how it feels in a
yes,
situation like that.
In that regard, our lot here on YouTube are no better.
Well, I can't imagine on that venue though, man, because I know how I feel when we're doing our little show here, that we just do it for our own edification and the edification of our listeners and our viewers. And when I'm trying to get a mic working or something, but I just know how it feels. I can't imagine knowing that there's 6 million people watching or something like that. I'd be sweating it a little bit.
Yeah, but by the way, I just thought I would share this one with you. I did a little meme for Dankula. No doubt some people will think I was being mean-spirited, but I just couldn't help myself. He did like it. He did retweet it.
I haven't even read it yet. You mean-spirited Britisher? Never.
Yes, we definitely can hear you now, yes.
So it says Tales from
I don't know.
Prison.
I'm sorry. I don't know what was going on. My Kindle was not acting correctly. My phone.
We'll get you on board here. You sound pretty good right now. It says Tales from the Prison Canteen. Might I trouble you for your vegan menu, please?
And then underneath in brackets it said, yeah, then again, it may never happen.
Yes. And I think you mean that he may not go to prison, but
yes.
And Britisher, if you want my humble opinion, it would have been even funnier if we would have just left that off, because that's, hey, we need humor for rape and murder and Dankula going to jail. We don't need humor for little ponies and puppy dogs. It's just not what we need.
If you actually look, the person sitting next to him,
I see. That's Stan Laurel, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So actually, that was Oliver Hardy. It's just Dankula's head on it. Yes. But no, I just thought that one might make you might make you chuckle, despite how lousy you feel at the moment.
That's what I've been doing. I'll be honest, man. I've laid down. I don't know how long you were sleeping, and we do got somebody in here. We'll let them kick off with something. I'm sure they want to ask you something, British, or talk about something. We can talk more about Charlie Gard. But man, I've laid down since I last saw you, since Monday. If you recall, I was reclining there on the couch the whole time that broadcast.
Yeah.
I went to bed. I've only been out of the recumbent position to feed the chickens, water the chickens. You go to the water closet. Other than that, I have been my back.
Yesterday, you were pretty much incommunicado, weren't you?
And I was today until, in fact, I think you DM'd me. It all gets lost in the haze. But about an hour and a half ago, I thought, well, I better just sit up just in case. I hate to miss Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, even if anybody was to miss. I hate to miss it. It's only 3 days a week. And so, yeah, I'd say, let's see, Monday, Tuesday. So I probably have around 48 hours in laying down position. That just wrecked my back, man.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Enough happy stuff, I guess.
It's one of those things where just everything aches. I think we can agree on that one, can't we?
So that's not unique to me. I mean, do other people actually experience backache when they lay down too much?
I think you can kind of get that, yes. Chances are with you it's more pronounced because you're such an active person.
Maybe. I'm very, I lay down for 7 hours a day, 6 to 7 hours a day, and that's when I sleep. Other than that, no, I'm doing something or moving around. Oh yeah, this is so much fun. I took the whole first part of the broadcast to talk about me being sick and stuff, Britisher. So let's let the pony talk about something else.
All I was gonna say is, I mean, cool with myself, because at this point in time, I've gone through the years and years of depression with my weight. Now I'm at the point where it's like, okay, I'm working on losing the weight. I'm not gonna mope around anymore. So, but still, realization still has to set in. Ankles. I had bad knees, and so yeah, I kind of been broken down as well. 24, but you know, with the way that I'm going, and I'm going down in weight, it can only get better. I'm eventually gonna kick back to where I used to be. I used to be a fairly healthy down to that weight, and it's just simply staying active. It was depression, and when you get depressed, you tend to eat more, stay inside. It was the winter, and it's just no reason why I despise the fat acceptance movement. Or like I told Ogre, Joy Sparkle, complaining about now being diagnosed with being 1 pound over the obese mark.
How does that make so? And if you don't mind, because I just know a little bit from what you said, and I watched a couple of your videos. Do you mind sharing with folks, you know, your situation at this regard? Do you have an eating disorder, an addiction to food, or tell us whatever you feel?
No. Oh, I don't care. I'm very open with it. In short, the factors of getting to be obese. Laziness is a main factor. I mean, for a while you can be in denial, which I was in denial for a while. Laziness is a factor. Depression is a factor. Boredom is definitely a factor. You know, all these things that feminists say don't play a part in being obese play a big part in being obese. And just not getting up and doing work or anything like that. Just being, I would probably not have a YouTube channel if I had an actual outside life. So it's mostly that. It's mostly those factors that played a part in it. And now it's just like, okay. Because I had family members pass away and stuff like that, and things of that nature, and just a lot can play into it. But then you got to pull yourself back out, and you got to be like, okay, it's not worth it. It's not worth the constant pain. And a lot of times, what will wake you up is being in that state of constant pain. And it is very crucial for anybody that's in this situation who is trying to, if you're trying to get better, then I'm okay with you. Or if you're willing to at least admit that you're fat and you're unhealthy and you don't try to play victim, I'm okay with you. As long as you acknowledge that it's your fault that you got this way, you can't blame anybody else. I mean, I have a thyroid. I do actually have a thyroid problem, but still, the other factors that is pointed out play a massive role in it. Also, it also plays a big part of it. So there are just all these little pieces that play a part into getting to where I am now, and now I'm trying to reverse it. I've got a job, and so I'm doing a lot more walking because I have to walk up this big hill. No, I have to walk down this big hill. I have to, because I work. I'm not going to say where I work, but where I work is built on just a massive hill, and down this big hill, and once I get the stuff that I need for work, I go down the stairs, which are a very huge, steep set of stairs. And then I have to go up a not as massive hill, but still fairly massive hill. And that I have to do 2 times a day for usually about 5 days. And so that has gotten me my legs back into proper shape. only reason my ankles at this point are in any way bad shape are because of my shoes being the way that they are. They're worn out. They're every year old, and I haven't had the money to buy new ones because they're like 135. But I finally do have the cash. I just need for them to come in, and then once they come in, I'll be able to go and get them.
For your shoes, but you're doing the biggest thing that you can do, because again, Gabe, you mentioned that. You mentioned some numbers. I'm going to leave that up to you, but you said your weight was at a certain number, and now it's at a different number.
You can say whatever you want. I don't care. I'm not the sensitive snowflake. I'm not.
Now let me be perfectly honest. I didn't have the number popped right up, but I'm about ready to now, because you said that
you're fine. I was 491 pounds,
and now you're down to
450, around the 450 mark.
So we're talking about 41 pounds, which, and be honest, in your position, I mean, that's not that's a good start at the very least, right?
No, it is a good start. Well, let's go by this also. I'm good at any state of, like, at any sense of the word, but I'm not sitting around moping around doing what I was doing before and going up. My waist size, I've gone down about 4 different waist sizes. So that's, I'm now, we just bought myself another pair of shorts, and which are size 62, and even they are starting to get too big. So I'm going in the right direction.
What have you done to go in that direction, if you don't mind me asking you?
I don't care.
I'll quit saying that, sir. I just try to be respectful.
Oh, you're very respectful, and I'm not used to being called sir. I'm used to being... that's just not a big deal. For me, it's just like when I lost 10 pounds on my own. When I was 491, I'd lost about 10 pounds on my own. My doctor suggested weight loss medication, which my mom was only going to do as a last resort, and it was at the time where it was a last resort, and that's helped me out. And I'm still on the weight loss medication, but when you are in a position that I'm in, help. And I do need the help, because all these people want to say modern medicine is killing us. Big pharmaceuticals just want to push pills, and I'm like, these pills can save your life, and that's what it's done for me.
So if you're around 500 pounds, you need to do something drastic.
So if I can ask, how do you sort of see how you see yourself, how you actually got into that situation?
Oh, like I said, massive depression. I'm not going to, like, I know you're not asking. I'm not going to go into massive detail, because if I did, I would end up doxing myself. Yeah. But people doing really crappy things that that were just not okay. One dude stalking me to the point of him actually doxing me twice. I finally got the doxes that he posted, and thankfully he was such a no-name and he was such a creeper that nobody ever paid attention to him anyway, so those doxes didn't really matter.
Okay, what I mean is sort of, did you go from being a normal weight to being so heavy?
Oh, yeah.
Or was it just that you have always been rather heavier, and you just continue to get always heavier?
I grew up I was an obese kid when I was growing up. And then I got down to 215 pounds when I was in junior high school. I played about 2 years worth of football when I was in junior high. And then, you know, for reasons I explained, just went up, and the weight just went up. And that's
okay, yeah. So it was really from the position of actually having a fairly normal weight that you then kind of ballooned.
Yeah, it was, but I've always had issue maintaining my weight, in terms of just not being motivated to eat properly, which, again, that's where the laziness comes in. But when people like Joyce Barkles make this big old production of, I'm 1 pound overweight, I'm 1 pound obese, and she's trying so hard to fake cry. I got so mad at this, because it is something I don't get mad at very often about my weight or anything, But this really made me like utterly pissed off because you're crying over being 1 pound at the obese mark. And you're talking about, see, I thought she said at the beginning that she's not trying to make fun or make light of people who are going through real struggles. No, she said at the beginning of the video, if you're going through real struggles and body issues and stuff like that, with struggling with your weight and being obese because of medical issues, I know what you're going through.
Mm.
And she's self.
Is it perhaps that she kind of wants to claim the medal, if you know what I mean? That one wishes to claim that level of victimhood, that one can add another onto one's, you know.
Yeah, she's a massive victim. She's one of those people who I actually talked to her like personally ever like when the Daddy of Five situation happened, because I had massive respect for her at the time because she was bringing awareness to the childish that was going on in that family and in that situation. But then I started to actually get smart because I was one who was like, I was going to, both sides because that's the type of person I am, and sympathetic towards both because I don't like to get in the middle of things. And then I got smart and started to listen to my. I was like, okay, maybe she's lying about a lot of the health issues she has. And then once I watched a video and a doctor said that she was saying that her doctor said she had all these different illnesses, turns out she really was going through anxiety attacks, which is something that I've suffered with, which is normal. And so she likes to self-diagnose herself all the time. And people who I've talked to who actually have some of the diseases that she claims to have said she's full of crap, like she's lying about it. Some guy 2287 says that he knows he has friends who have the same exact illnesses that she has claimed to have, and he says she's full of poop, and that angers me to no end. And the fact that she's constantly saying YouTube is a source of her stress, she's constantly on YouTube complaining about her health, and then beating into the ground Onizi on Daddy 05, Onizi on Daddy 05, when the Daddy 05 situation had been done with a long time ago.
So this is somebody that's just seeking for glory, and we could talk about this person all that you want. What I'm super interested in this, Pony. Sure. Has the healthy at every weight, the body acceptance movement, has this, because you're awful young, you said 24, I believe, has this impacted your struggle in this aspect in your life?
It is one of those things where I almost was sucked into it after Nicole Arbor's Dear Fat People video, when I was absolutely more emotional and more like a special snowflake than I am now. Thank you, YouTube, for actually breaking me up that victimhood complex. But I almost was sucked into the body positivity movement, and because I was like, okay, I can actually agree with that message. You shouldn't really make fun of somebody simply because they're fat. I think anybody would agree with that message. But then I started to dig into it a little deeper, and it was, oh my gosh, you should not have that poster up of that woman in that bikini because it's offensive to me. Really? Or my personal favorite, the drawing of all the different super women, the drawing of these girls in superwoman costumes. One's crippled, one's fat, one's skinny, one's black, and they're like, we're all superwoman. I'm like, no. So the body positivity movement is absolute garbage, and it's something I speak out against very vehemently. And I'm like, no, there is not health at every size. When I first started my channel a long time ago, a year ago, when my audio quality was really bad. There was a Twitter user by the name of Fat Activist that I called out, and I was like, because she was saying that how dare the doctor say that there's an that sleep apnea is that obesity equates to sleep apnea, and I'm somebody who has sleep apnea and have for years since I was at least 17, and that was bull hockey. And so I've really not liked the body positivity movement whatsoever. I think there's nothing positive about it. I think they're doing more harm than good. And I laugh at them every time
Yeah,
because
and it's just to really get you on point here, but you've already said it. So this has impacted you negatively because at one time or another, where you're in this struggle, instead of you being able to focus on the things that you can change, it actually gives you some arrows in your quiver. In other words, you're able to say, but you should accept me as I am. So I'm going to now have these 5 quarter pounders with cheese because it makes me feel better for a minute.
oh yeah. It's very negative to people who are legitimately trying to lose weight. What I always tell people is don't let people judge you simply because of your weight. But work on losing the weight. Don't settle, because I feel like a lot of these women are just settling, and it's only for women. You never see male body positivity people, so it's only for women. So don't ever let people tell you, oh, you're fine just the way you are. You shouldn't strive to be a Scarlett Johansson, but at the same time, you should want to be healthy so you can live a long. I want to live longer than I am now. I don't want my lifespan to kick out at 26.
Well, isn't one of the aspects of the body positivity movement in that regard that it kind of actually looks at people who are overweight but want to try to lose weight as sort of traitors to the class, because they claim that that means that those people are judging the fat people who are not trying to lose weight.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like you get treated like you're Lacey Green leaving the extreme feminist movement.
Yes, precisely. It's kind of regarded as you ought to be happy where you are, because otherwise, if you are not happy where you are putting in question that we can be happy where we are. So you must stay overweight so that we can remain happy being overweight. That seems to be the logic of it.
Man, that's horrible. That reminds me of it reminds me of the crabs in the barrel, you know, where
yes, precisely.
Somebody comes by and says, well, sir, you have all these crabs, and look, that one's about to get out. But of course, the crab monger says, no, there's no worries there, because the other crabs are not going to allow them out of that barrel. They're going to pull them right back down in. I see it as this is the worst situation you're in, Pony, because we cannot stop eating. We can make healthier decisions, of course. We can change some of our habits. We can do things that are different. But one thing that we can't do is stop eating. We always will need food. And man, you know, to have now to be attacked by people that are in the same situation, instead of them being there to support you, you know, them saying, well, you should be happy with your ankles giving you trouble and having a hard time going down the hill and all these things. You should be happy with that, Pony. You should just, you know, you should say, accept me for who I am as I suffer here.
And healthier as a before I was walking on a cane. 41.
It's getting bad now, Pony. You're a robot a little bit, but now we can only get about 1 in 10 words.
We can't hear you.
There's it may be your tablet. If you have the ability, Pony, and you look, because you just have your icon up, if you can adjust your bandwidth, set your bandwidth as low as it can go, and that may help you.
Hold on.
It should be on the top bar where you can see the Hangouts, not the one, of course, where everybody's at. You set that down, it might keep you from robot. Because I don't know about you, Britt, but this is it. And well, I guess I shouldn't ask you just like this right in front of the man, but this is interesting to me. Because as I said,
this is an interesting conversation about, because we're kind of in a parallel with Boogie here, aren't we?
Yes.
Of basically the struggle to try and lose weight.
Yeah, and not like you said, not 5 or 10 pounds so you look better in your bikini, but a couple 100 pounds. You know, that's a tremendous. It would be such a daunting task for anyone, but then to have your people that are even suffering as you are turn against you, man. I'm trying to put myself in that position, and it seems like it'd be awful hard. Well, and maybe he'll be back, Brett, and maybe not. I don't know how long I'm going to last. If you had somebody that you wanted to swing on, bring them on in, Britt. You never have to ask me about that. You can invite anybody you want, anytime you want.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm just. I don't know if you can hear my keyboard rattling or not. It depends on how directional my microphone is. So I'm DMing someone as we speak.
Yeah, well, I'm so used to that, to hearing it. You seem to you're always busy, and so I hear that. It's got to the point where I would probably notice it if it wasn't happening, but I don't really notice it that when it does. I'm doing the same thing. I know you got to hear mine. Clack, 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 glitter, glitter. What are you going to do? Wow, man. I feel like I'm living in an alternate universe right now.
Well, yeah, I think you now begin to realize, because, when we were off air talking to each other, we kind of both agreed that, there has been days recently when I have been quite clearly below par when it came to my contribution to the debate. Because, yes, it feels as if you've kind of got cotton wool inside of your skull, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the worm has turned, and now the shoe's on the other foot, and all them other sayings fit here, done it? Because I know I'm not on my full par at it. I'm off my game for sure. I can tell.
Well, you're doing well enough. As I say, I know that in my case, I kind of became monosyllabic at some point, just due to the fact that you couldn't really, you were struggling to see the screen because your eyes were watering, and anything that could run was running, and
I feel fortunate that it hasn't got me that way yet. I'm not. I hate the runny and plugged up stuff where your sinuses start.
I think it very much depends, kind of how exactly it hits you. As one or two other people I know who had the same thing had different symptoms. So it's not that it's a kind of one sort of
one size fits all.
It seems to vary from person to person, but one thing is guaranteed: you feel like death warmed up.
Yeah. I tried to do some things today that, I'll try to exercise, and I just stood on the elliptical, and I didn't even push the button yet to put a program in. I just stood on it, and when my foot pressed down, I just got back off of it, laid back down. This is at the point where I feel like, if I was a soldier, a battle or something, I would just, stand up and be shot.
just you basically, in the First World War, you would just basically get up out of the trench and let the Germans mow you down. In order to.
Yeah. Point. Just wave my arms and say, "Here I am. Put me out of my misery." Chalk one up for the Kaiser. I'm glad you swung by, though, Brett. I really am. This has done me good, because I really feel like yesterday I wouldn't have. If we would have had a scheduled show yesterday, I just wouldn't have been there. I would have been incapable, but
it kind of acts as some kind of motivation to get you going and to get you to do something. I mean, I was feeling very much exactly the same when I had it, that even though one was feeling lousy, it did allow one to somehow kind of, get into an upright position and actually try to do something sensible.
And I see
just sit there and blubber and feel sorry for oneself.
And I just seen Pizzy's out in the chat. How you doing, Pizzy? Good to see you, mate. Been a little while. I'm just noticing things, Britisher. I try to be up on it. Oh, Pony's back. Maybe we can carry on and see how that works. This is very interesting to me, Britisher. I'd like to get it because we're not talking about somebody, with all respect, we're not talking about somebody that has a small problem. We're talking about someone that is, a quarter ton. That's a lot to deal with. I mean, that is a lot mentally. The least thing.
Let me tell you this. Life is too short, no matter what size you are. Life is too short to worry about the things that you're working on getting under control. I'm not trying to get, uber religious here, but I believe that God has me on this earth for a reason. And when he's done with me, he's done with me. But I just don't feel like he's done with me yet.
There you go.
I mean,
so really,
have you got a goal? I mean, is there a kind of weight you would wish to achieve?
I have a goal to not be 450 pounds.
Okay.
I want to get out of the floor.
It's a kind of, you're not keeping an immediate goal. You're trying to just
I'm trying to get out of the force. what I at this point in time, once I get out of the 400 mark, then that's when I will start setting goals. But at this point in time, if I can just get out of the 450 mark, I will be freaking happy.
Huh.
Individual, I try to be a happy individual. Depression days are over. That was last year. This year, and this year's a much better, happier year. I just don't take myself as seriously anymore as I used to. There's no point in it. Learn to laugh at yourself. If people laugh, you need to learn to laugh at yourself, because if you laugh at yourself, then it takes any ammo away from anybody who's going to make fun of you in the future, because they'll see laughing at himself. We can't make fun of him because he's already making fun of himself.
I've got to ask. Were you British in a previous life?
No, I don't think so. I did watch a massive amount of British cop shows last year.
Well, they're very, very good at laughing at themselves, aren't the British? You know, that's I think the point there. I believe they invented self-deprecation.
Yeah, it's just something that I had to pick up because I was massively depressed. I mean, you can talk to Amanda Wolf. Hey, there's a pussy.
Hi.
Good evening.
It's just one of those things where you just have you can ask Amanda Wolfchild. I mean, I used to be massively depressed, but I'm not like that anymore because there's just no point. I mean, I do have my bouts where I, like any normal person, like I have ADHD and stuff like that, so I am hard on myself a lot of times when maybe I shouldn't be. But overall, I'm just, aside from the occasional where the depression will rear its ugly head, I'm really not that much of a sad, depressed person anymore. There's just no point.
That's definitely a good start right there. Who do we have here, British? Just some introductions
yes,
here.
ladies and gentlemen, we've got the common sense guy whose avatar happens to be a pussycat, who got in touch with me today. He's got a fairly new channel on YouTube, and he's asked for 1 or 2 points of advice. And I sort of told him, one of the best ways of getting better is just simply to practice as much as you can. Just basically put as much material up as you can. The more you talk, the more you speak to the microphone, the more you address the audience, the more comfortable you will get doing it. So given that we're both kind of under the weather and we were keen to kind of find some people to kind of help us get through this live stream, I thought it might be a good opportunity to hand him to kind of get a few words in.
Yeah, absolutely. Introduce yourself if you'd like to, sir. I'm the Laughing Ogre, and we have Gabe the Pony over here.
Well, I'm the common sense guy. I'm British, like the Britisher. Basically, I've just started a YouTube channel because I wanted to get my opinion across. And I appreciate everybody taking the time out to actually give us a chance.
All right. So I think I believe the British has sent me a link, but just in case, if you'll send me the link in the side chat, I'll put it out in the chat for the main room, and I'll also check you out.
Thank you very much.
What do you cover? Oh, British has already got it. He's ahead of the game there. So what do you cover on your channel do you have a go-to topic? What's your mission?
Most of my missions is basically to do with British politics. I'm kind of annoyed how the Labour system at the minute is kind of completely outdated. Don't like communism, don't like socialism. Yeah, pretty much that's basically me. Social issues, I like going to that as well.
I think the social justice crowd might also be getting your goat, might it not?
It does mostly. I don't understand where the common sense has gone from most people, hence why I named my channel the Common Sense Guy.
Hence the name, yes.
Indeed, indeed.
Oh, come on. Let's all be honest. You just wanted to be a Megan clone.
Well, yeah, that's why I have a pussy.
I'm not sure who Megan is.
I thought that's because you supported Donald Trump.
Well, no, I wouldn't have been a pussy then.
That was pretty funny. That was good. Well, I just encourage everybody, and this is that the Britisher has him on. He must have seen a video or two, so I'm going to stand on his recommendation. Just swing on by. The guy's just getting started. I'm sub number 3, Common Sense And so,
Thank you very
Common
much.
Sense Guy. So swing on by, give them a sub, and then after church is done, of course, don't leave right now. Swing over there and watch some of his videos and give the man a chance. So I've got to stick on this though, and man, you listen. This is how much I like you, Gabe. This topic is I would be Britisher knows what I'm doing right now. Inside, I'm going, oh man, there's a foghorn, but you know, life goes on, and nothing goes perfectly as we plan it. So I would just encourage you, if you have speakers, that could be happening if you're aiming your microphone anywhere near your speakers.
It's my fan. Give me 1 sec. It's like
Take your time.
ridiculously hot
Anything
in
you
my
can do
house.
to stop that foghorning noise, the British and I would greatly appreciate it.
It reminds me, that foghorn reminds me slightly of a perhaps the Common Sense Guy will know this one. There is a Dad's Army episode where
Hold on one second. I know exactly what it is because it's constantly going on.
Was that Brett?
yeah, there's a Dad's Army episode where several of the Home Guard have to go and guard the lighthouse, and they accidentally manage to turn it on just before a German bombing raid is heading their way. So obviously, with it, they manage to illuminate the whole town they're supposed to be protecting. And while they're kind of desperately fiddling with various buttons in order to try and switch the darn light off, one of them says, "Oh, I think I found it here," and pulls a lever. And the next thing they hear is just the sound of a foghorn going off at massive decibels.
Dad's Army got it done. They always didn't do it the way they
planned. If the German bombers won't see them, they'll definitely hear them. Yes.
Yeah. Great episode, that one.
It's one of those immortal ones. I think they didn't do many weak episodes on Dad's Army, but some of them are completely timeless.
Yeah, no, I agree. Most of them I ended up watching with my dad because I'm a little bit probably younger than most of you, but I didn't really get into it when it first came around. I had to watch it with my dad on UK Gold, which obviously the British will understand what I mean by that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I think it's kind of a sort of a cable channel of sorts, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit like Dave, like your Bravos, just stuff like that.
UK Gold sounds like AMC or something. So they show old TV shows.
That's exactly it.
And we're gonna get you, Pony, one way or the other. If it keeps foghorning, you just have to mute yourself until you're talking and unmute yourself. And if worse comes to worse, if should comes to must, or however you say that in England, then we'll always have you back on another time to talk about this very topic. And British, you know, the main reason. Look, I mean, I'm not exactly the fittest lad on earth, but I deal with this. Mrs. Ogre has basically weighed the same thing the entire time I've been with her. She does fluctuate about 3 pounds, but it is kind of tough for me when we're doing our morning thing, brushing our teeth, and maybe just getting out of the shower. And so there's just us in our birthday suits. And Mrs. Ogre says something to the effect of, and you got to understand a lady with a flat stomach, as flat as it gets, she would have to lean over to even produce anything that looked like a bump. And she says something to the effect of, boy, I'm getting fat. And here I'm looking in the mirror, of course. You see what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm looking in the mirror and I can see her beautiful physique that's not fat. And I can see so I wondered to myself, I think women are different about how they view themselves and other people. But I wonder sometimes how folks can't see that what they're saying isn't helping the person next to them. In other words, if you think you're fat and you're in really good shape, shut up when there's a fat person standing next to you brushing their teeth. Or if you're heavy and you're struggling with weight, fat, I'm just going to say fat. I'm not considering it fat. If you're fat and you're struggling with your weight, then doggone it, man. The last thing you need is somebody else's fat to come up and say, well, you know, in other words, exact opposite Britisher and Common Sense Guy. Not only am I not going to encourage you, I'm going to tell you that you should be happy with where you're at. And if you're not happy with where you're at, you're doing something bad to me, you know, i.e. somebody that's, you know.
Well, there might be one simple way of losing weight, and that is only to eat Japanese chocolate. Because I know this sounds rather strange, but I've just put a link up there for you, Ogre. The BBC reported on this, and that I think Nestle, or Nestles as some people call them, has just opened a chocolate factory in Japan. And, you would think by now that is a sort of saturated market, but the reason they're doing it is because...
Is that to do with the Kit Kat?
Yes, precisely. Apparently there seems to be now a taste emerging for rather exotic flavors. So I'm not sure to what extent Americans are familiar with Kit Kat bars. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So yes, they are now producing green tea. So that photograph there is a green tea flavored Kit Kat bar.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can have wasabi flavored Kit Kat bars.
They've made wasabi ones for a long time. I've had them. They also make shrimp flavored Kit Kats. They have some of the weirdest candies.
So I've got the feeling if you introduce that, then and get rid of the traditional chocolate, then a lot of people may start losing weight very quickly.
Well, green tea, does that sound... Well, I see now. If it's just green tea and crunchy, maybe that wouldn't be good to some people. But that's what I liked about the wasabi ones is they're not chocolate. They're wasabi and crunchy. They're good. I like wasabi. But
I was
yeah,
going to say, wasabi's going to really stop you from eating chocolate if you're not used to eating anything hot. It's going to really push things out.
I'm a bit of a baby when it comes to hot stuff.
Man, you sound so much better now.
Yeah, it was my Discord. I hate my Discord because even I turn the notifications off.
Oh, it was Discord notifying you. That was the womp.
Oh yeah. Well, it's my
I thought the Germans were coming.
I usually keep my notifications on vibrate, so that way I'm not constantly hearing my notification ringtone every 5 seconds.
Well, so now that we got these two guys here, and we can maybe finish this idea up of because coming from your perspective, you could at least give us your ideas of how your own community could support you, and just keep it together for me for a minute or two, Gabe. And just tell us how do you think things should go that would benefit people like yourself and Boogie that are actually in this position where it's like do or die?
I talked to a couple of fat people online. In short, I would have to just say, be yourself. I don't care what people say in front of me. I talked to several fat people online. Be yourself, but don't be I have people on YouTube that I talk to that just persona. That's how they come off. They're like Bearing or YouTubers like that, where they're just having fun. But don't constantly berate people. When stuff hits the fan, they definitely would not, purposely ever make me treat me like just a normal individual, which was what majority of people do anyway. But for people, I think, that are going through that, don't constantly tell yourself that you are not worth anything, because that's the vast majority of what I used to do. Now, one of those things where it's hard to do, but once you finally start doing it, it becomes like a drug in and of itself, telling yourself that you are actually worth something. And actually, once you start losing the weight you feel coming off, it's like a drug in and of itself. I mean, you want to keep doing it once you start. So I think, in short, I'm not looking for any sort of treatment from people. I just think that people should be who they are. If people were, I hate using this feminist term, fat phobic, they wouldn't be talking in a very nice and cordial way. And that's the thing. I think we treat every little micro thing as a phobia. And if you don't like somebody, if you simply don't like somebody because of a certain thing, or don't like a certain thing somebody does, a phobic, even though it may be just something that you don't prefer. I don't think it's right to constantly the being like, okay, the fat people are oppressed. Well, why is that? Because we decided to shove an extra cheeseburger down our throats. We choose to make, and I'm generalizing. I know that there are medical issues and stuff like that. But in America, we generalize. I mean, they want to do things like make parking spaces wider because the world should not accommodate to you. You should do your best to try to accommodate. Because anytime you try to think that oppressed, more than likely you're not. And it's just sad in the world where that really do go through. I keep telling myself, you may be having a bad day, but it can always be worse.
Well, those are some good points. I would just throw this in there too. For people that are overweight, for people that aren't, if you find out that someone is overweight, like Boogie, like Gabe, somebody you meet online, somebody you know in life, how about try this on for size? Don't give them any advice unless they ask for it.
Yep.
It's not really your business. So if you're overweight and you think they're whatever, should be, just leave it to yourself unless they ask your opinion. Like we have asked him today, what he thinks about it. In doing that, you don't leave yourself open to the very real problem people have, and that is becoming the moral arbiter of life. Because really, not only isn't it your business, but if someone does want to be that, it's their business. If somebody doesn't, it's their business. That's what I got about that.
I think one of the sort of aspects that you described when you sort of talked about, people sort of saying, oh, well, fat people are being oppressed and things like that. I think that seems to kind of stem from something that we kind of, I mean, I'm talking as an old fogey here in my 40s, that we kind of observe in sort of the younger generation. And that is this extremely kind of narcissistic view that many young people hold, that they kind of see the universe almost rotating solely around them. And therefore, if something doesn't play the way they want it, then it must be because there is a sort of active agent that is seeking to keep them down, as opposed to that is just the way things are and it's unfortunate. And I think some of that kind of view of I am in the center of the universe kind of plays into, helps create this aspect that some of these people in the body positivity movement and whatever have of we are oppressed, when in fact, yes, there is clearly no organization anywhere that seeks to somehow consciously keep fat people down.
Yeah, boom. And I mean,
perhaps the ogre has got something to add in terms of psychology, given that you've got a degree in it. Or perhaps the common sense guy has got some 2 cents to throw in.
Wait. The dude with the massive grown hillbilly beard has a degree in psychology.
Yeah, I do. I don't use it.
No, you can't just.
And I don't have. I've never got a doctorate, so I've never been able to apply it like in a clinical setting. I just have a lot of study.
It's funny. You can't judge a book by its cover.
No, I wouldn't recommend anybody do that. But if that's what I was trying to do, Britisher, in this, people need support. But here's the issue. If you go and you try to support someone, or you try to work in a way that is putting yourself in place of their own conscience, their own inner desire to do what they feel like doing, you're actually pushing them to it. Because when we get folks that are this obese, when we get people this heavy, they're turning to this like a drug. It is now an addiction. It's no longer just, little Billy has a thyroid problem, or he has one too many Sundays or something. It's now a much bigger deal. And so I in my mind, we need to look at it that we're not pushing people to it by offering up what we feel people should do on every topic. But in my mind, yeah, this is really sensitive because, as I said, and I wasn't really ready for anything, but sure, that was just a lot of bullshit. But this is the worst to me, because if you're a heroin addict, well, you can quit it. You can quit it. If you're an alcoholic, you can quit it. If you're gambling, sex, anything. But if you're addicted to food, you can quit certain kinds of food, but you can't just quit eating, can you?
No, I mean, this point's actually quite pungent for myself because I'm actually going through a gastric bypass. No, sorry, a gastric sleeve operation soon, which is where they cut away 3/4 of your stomach. I'm around about 22 to 23 stone, but that's due to the fact that I have certain disabilities that have made me that way. So the main reason why I was always thinking I need to do something about it is because my mates would do those sort of little jives where they go, "Oh yeah, he's all right, he's a big lad, he can handle it," and simple little stuff like that, where it just keeps on niggling at you. But as
Okay,
British has
okay.
said before,
I'm sorry for interrupting. I had to look that up real quick. That is that's roughly 308 pounds.
All right, carry on, mate.
yeah, sorry. Obviously for the American people. But as British was saying about the psyche, eventually you do actually start looking for like a reason why you are and why people are saying these sort of things to you, rather than trying to look at yourself thinking, "Oh yeah, I might be side of the problem." Because at the end of the day, you kind of are, because you're the one that's putting the food in your mouth, so to speak. But you do look for that type of escapism to say, "Oh, it's not my fault, it's that person's fault," or "It's not my fault, it's the government's fault," or "It's the sugar fault." You do tend to look for an escape, and unfortunately most people just, it's not the right thing to do at all. It is your fault. You've got to take responsibility for it and go forward yourself. Nobody can push you, as everybody said it, nobody can push you for it.
Well, I will also say this. I think I want to make a modification to what Ogre was saying. I think that it's okay for people to have gone through health issues to give their opinion, because they're coming from or who have gone through health issues, or who are in that field and who genuinely are trying to help. But if you're trying to come across as, "Oh, you shouldn't do this," because you're trying to be moral arbiter, because I can usually tell when somebody's trying to genuinely help and when somebody's just trying to play God, jury, executioner. I'm okay with people who are just genuinely trying to help and not trying to put themselves on a moral pedestal.
And that's always why it's a good idea to go to a professional rather than sometimes talking to a mate. Because unfortunately, sometimes with talking to a mate, they're always going to have a prejudge of whatever's going to happen. Where if you talk to a professional, normally they deal with this every single day, so they can tell you what you need to hear rather than what you think you should hear.
Well, and I hope nobody thought that I was saying I don't think people should give their opinions. I absolutely do. I just believe those opinions would be best served if they were given after a human being asked for them. Sometimes that asking, if you're close to your mate, sometimes that asking won't come in a verbal form. Sometimes that asking will come in the form of, but you got to be close to somebody to just come up to him and say, hey, my brother, I noticed you were screwing a lot of hookers lately, and maybe we should sit down and talk about your hooker addiction. I just tried to pick something that I thought nobody was addicted to.
I'll say this. I'll never forget this. I hope I never forget this. I was in a stream with Adam and his Apple, and this dude who is flat out punch drunk. I think he was drunk. Either that or he was just insane. I flat out said I was virgin, because I am, and I don't care. And he was like, "Oh, you shouldn't say that. You should take that back. You should be emotionally." And then it only made me want to say times and really piss the dude off. It's like doing things, not a religious thing. Doing things that have any sort of moral fiber to them whatsoever have now been seen as negatives. And you wonder why a lot of people end up the way that they are. You wonder why Chester Bennington took his life. I don't know the exact factors, but that's why a lot of people tend to be depressed.
He had some really uplifting, happy songs too, you know, like always look on the bright side of life type stuff. No, I mean, he took his life probably because, man, who knows? It's funny you mentioned that. If you did notice, Britisher, we did lose another big star. I haven't even mentioned it because I don't know. I just didn't follow the guy. It's not that I'm not. I mean, I feel bad when anyone dies, but it's not like a Chris Cornell situation with me because I was a very big follower. of Chris Cornell, Soundgarden, you know, every band, all these been in Temple of the Dog. Excuse me.
The one thing that turned me off of Soundgarden forever was the song Spoon Man. I think that's the most annoying song in the
Well, but here's the problem with those two gentlemen. Look, they should have had somebody stand up, because I'm rethinking what I said. Just let me point out, because Britisher, you know, he pumps me up, and I appreciate it, to tell you the truth. But I'm no professional, and I'm definitely not even halftime right. Because if somebody would have stepped in with these two gentlemen, we have people that died from a disease, the disease of depression, that was allowed to perpetuate on and on and on and on and on. These folks, in my humble opinion, neither one of them should have been getting Zoloft or any kind of depression drug. What they needed was some more long walks with their wife at night, some more bike rides, you know, some more activity, that kind of thing. And to be told, listen, why are you, a lot of times in our society, it's shifting from this person needs help, they're afraid of spiders, make them hold spiders, to, oh, they're afraid of spiders, let's, you know, encapsulate them and protect them and sequester them from spiders so that they'll never come in. And we're doing that in all aspects now. When, as far as I know, the best remedies for these things have always been to be exposed to things that just make you feel uncomfortable. You know, as long, of course, there's not, as long as that's not rape or something like that. But anyway, don't you, because obesity stems from up here. Am I wrong to say that, gentlemen, that are here, that are both struggling, it sounds like?
No, I agree with you. It's definitely a mental issue more than a physical side.
It is definitely mental. I mean, it is one of those things, like, there are medical issues, but I'm so sick and tired, because I'm telling myself I'm going to stop saying that the medical stuff, because people should have common sense to know that when anybody is criticizing somebody on a topic such as fat acceptance, disregarding the medical side when we criticize. Whenever I do on my channel, I insult, I do stuff like that. It's entertainment, and plus it's my actual thoughts. I think if you're going to be an idiot, but we have to deal with it mentally. Those that are doing it is they're saying that it's a good thing. It's a positive thing. You should be this way. And that's just dangerous. That's like trying to force your child to be a Christian. You shouldn't force anybody to have any set of beliefs. You should let the child look at every angle, teach them to the best of your abilities what you know, and let them make their own informed decision.
At what age, though? I mean, because if I'm not Presbyterian, or I'll pick Catholic. I'm definitely not Catholic. But if my child's a Catholic, they're going to go to Mass on Sunday. I mean, wouldn't you say at what age would you do that? I'm not saying force either, but there's some certain time where even if I'm agnostic or atheist, pagan, you know, my children are going to be that for a certain amount of time, right?
Well, yeah, of course. But at the same time, you should still. They're always going to grow up in that environment. But what I mean is, as they get older, always tell them, like, I was always told, these are choices. This is your choice.
Well, religion? Well, yeah, of course it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that's a Christian, that's all I could speak to would be, because Christianity, a walk with Jesus, if you believe in that mythos, is an absolute choice. If it's anything other than a choice,
well,
it's not.
It's any line of thinking. You should
British, he's thinking, oh man, here go the religious kind of taking over.
No. I'm sorry. I'm just using it as an example, because I've actually seen atheists on YouTube.
Well, because when you said that, I all of a sudden got some dings, and I thought maybe the cat did too. I'll get your name, believe me, the conscious objector. No, that's not good. Maybe, but when I hear you say, that smacks of, well, maybe this baby shouldn't have a gender until it can decide, like they just did in Canada.
Yeah, I think it. Sorry, go on.
Go ahead.
No, carry on.
Go ahead.
Well, I think I was going to say. Sorry.
Hit it, Cat. I ain't heard 2 words from you. Hit it, Cat, man.
I think you can put it into a different perspective where you can say, for your instance, you can say if somebody grew up as a cheesehead because they're in a particular area, 9 times out of 10, that child is going to grow up as a cheesehead. But if that child has a choice, would he choose to go somewhere else, or would he go somewhere else, or would she do whatever? That's the bit you're talking about. But at the first instance, 9 times out of 10, you're going to follow what your mum and dad or whoever is the most common person that you're going to be looking up to, whether it's a brother or a dad or a mother. You're going to follow them until you can make your own decisions.
And that I always use my Christianity because again that's where I come from. That's what I know. But I wasn't like I left Christianity twice, so I mean I know what it's like to leave and then come back. So it's definitely I think people should be allowed to make choices. But
the ogres were pretty strict. The ogres that raised me and my 7 ogre brothers and sisters, and there's only 2 of us that even entertain any thoughts of religion at this point. So I will say this: it all pays itself back. If and maybe it's just, correlation doesn't show causation. I'm trying to be careful using my family as an example. It's just truth is truth. In fact, I think only myself. I really believe that only myself is the only child left that would say that they have any belief in God or Christianity. But that said, I think that if my parents would have been, one parent in specific, I'll let you guess and have 50-50 chance on which one it is, would have been a little bit less forceful about it. I don't know how else other way to say it, that it may have turned out different. So that does pay itself back. When you have people, whether and this is how I try to look at it, Britt and everybody, it's how I try to look at it. When I see these people forcing this agenda of especially the biology thing, man, when it comes to gender, I really feel that this generation it's getting thrust on is going to experience the same kind of situation that the ogres experienced, that when they come to their time of understanding and making decisions, they're going to say, no, this is insanity.
And that's where I'm coming from when I do bring up the Christianity bit, because Sargon of Akkad is a YouTuber that I actually love. Absolutely love. I've had a love-hate relationship with him, but he oh,
hang on 1 second, sir. Let me check my contract here. Hang on a second. British, right? He just sent me the signal. Look, I got it right here where I can get to it. Yeah, it says oh yeah, apparently our contract with Sargon does not allow any negative talk toward the man. So if you could please retract the on and off again and say that you only, here it is too. You must say that you have a love only relationship with Sargon. To be clear, it's Sargon of Akkad. Homo detritus. Thank you, sir. Carry on.
Homo detritus.
I forever. My views are my own and do not reflect the views.
I'm just fucking awesome. Comedic relief.
He is just kidding. You have to understand that he had Sargon of Akkad for 5.5 hours on his live stream once.
Well, we had him. Britisher got him on. Actually, he was here with him and the Britisher were the ones talking. But carry on. I was just joking.
But he has said that feminism is basically a religion. It's one reason why I make such.
I think we've lost you again, Pony.
Yeah, well, that's cool because I'm going to do this really quick. Like, your microphone is about 50-50. Hopefully next time when you come back, it'll be crack on. I've got about another half hour in me. So before I let everybody have their final words, I really want to hear from the cat. He split. That's fine too. Either way. But tell us, man, I have your thing up here, the common sense guy. Why don't I just call you common sense? Tell us this.
CS, that'll do.
I've noticed, man, and I'm going to do my little thing to see if I can get a couple people. You've got a couple videos up here. Is there one that you'd like to bring up right now and maybe bring up the topic and we can have a talk about it?
Just choose anyone that you want. I'm quite happy with all of them.
Well, we've been talking about this Doctor Who, so I'm not sure if the Britishers all Doctor Who'd out. I really wouldn't mind hearing, since you actually put a video up about it, because the British and I are pretty much in the same boat. We ain't Doctor Who fans. It smells of fish. But if you don't think it's too played out, I wouldn't mind hearing what you got to say about that. You just put up 600.
Let's have a go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay then. Well, my main opinion is with this new Doctor Who that's happened is I don't really think that she should have got the job on what's happened. I believe that you could have had a female Doctor Who. It's in the law. He could have changed to a female. It's not an impossibility. But the fact that the female why she has had some good acting roles, she hasn't done anything that's major. If you look at Peter Capaldi, he's done some amazing roles where this lady unfortunately hasn't. And I don't think she was good enough. And she's played a feminist card with the director. And unfortunately, they pushed a narrative through which they shouldn't have done. It should have been done on merit. And I believe everything should be done on merit rather than what they would call a quota.
I don't watch the show myself. Can you understand me?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
we can hear you.
A lot better.
It was probably my fan. I don't watch the show myself. I think it's absolutely dull and boring. But from my perspective, and only from what I know of, like very, very little of the show, like no BS pointed out. You have
that's
an actor
cool.
who.
I mean, we don't have to know much about it, but this is the problem I have. The British and I have been going over this, and he just said the problem. As soon as you start imposing quotas or making, I mean, look, the gunslinger and Roland the Gunslinger from the Dark Tower series by Stephen King is a white guy. If he's not a white guy, you can take the second book called The Drawing of the Three. You can take that and throw it away because it centers around this legless black lady named Detta Walker or Odetta Holmes. She's a split personality. And Roland and how they hate, and she calls him a honk mofo. That's how she said to you, honk mofo. When y'all gonna go jerk on your little old bitty white candles? And she just is. If you make him a, and so this is the problem I have. One of two things is happening because of quotas, and they got to have this person, that person. And you're ruining stories and changing the story, or you're getting people that kind of stink in there because they fit what they want to have in there. Not any good.
Well, one interesting one that I incidentally actually I heard Sargon I think was speaking to V on one of his live streams recently, and they brought up this Doctor Who issue, and they pointed out something interesting, and that was that every time in the past when an actor has been given the we've got an echo, Ogre. Every time when an actor has been given the Doctor Who role, he normally makes some kind of public statement about what for an honor it is to be given this role and that he's for years wanted to do this.
Yeah, whereas hers was the acceptance speech.
Hers was the acceptance speech in which she spoke as a feminist, as a woman, and as an actor. I think in that sequence.
It was in that sequence, yes.
And you just sort of thought, well, hang on a moment. Clearly, this is some kind of political mission statement, as opposed to an actress just simply accepting a role. And that seems to kind of color the whole thing. And that's why I think so many people have reacted very negatively in kind of saying, I'm sorry, but this seems to be an institution which seems to be hell-bent on various diversity quotas at the moment. When they are telling you, oh, it's not an issue. It doesn't matter whether Doctor Who is a woman or a man. Well, if it doesn't matter, why would you change it? You know, so clearly it matters to them. Else, why would they have changed a formula that has worked for the last half century? So
because everyone needs to be a special snowflake.
Yeah, you see, Gabe. What you need to understand is that the BBC, about a year ago or so, perhaps it's not even that long ago, they issued certain diversity quotas. So just, for memory here, from now on, not only their overall staff, but also their on-screen actors, including the lead roles, will have to be 50% women. They will have to be 8% disabled. They will have to be 8% gay. They'll have to be 16% Asian and black people. And that is by, I think, the year 2020. So they've got pretty much 3 years to introduce this.
So this is for a majority white nation. How are you going to find Asians to fit those roles?
Well,
very hard.
Lower your
It's
standards.
just basically, that is basically their quota, and that's that. So basically, nobody is to question that, because if you question it, you're either a misogynist or a racist or an ableist or some such thing.
Well, and
I've
the
got a
answer
question
too,
for
one
you.
of the answers is you have to lower your standards, because yes, there's not a lot of them. So just like the cat said, I'm telling you, I'm so sick. It's right here too. Mr. Common Sense guy said, you get people that just, it doesn't matter even if their gender fits in that time, they're just not good, because you have to have it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a question for the British here on this one. It's an indirect question mostly. Have you noticed that the BBC have increased the female cast on the BBC News? As in, where it used to be 50-50, it's now 75% women.
Yes, it's highly noticeable. Yes, if you turn on the news channel, it is pretty much, yes, it's overwhelming majority female with a few males
Sprinkles.
thrown in. And that is, and one thing you can also notice, and that I think actually a few months ago, at one point there were 2 males on screen simultaneously, and one of them, and no doubt they will have been told off about it, one of them actually made a brief remark about the fact that this is something one sees rarely these days, and the other one kind of chuckled, because you can sometimes have a female news presenter hosting the news with 2 other female journalists or whatever. So you've basically got the entire triad, all of them are female, and this apparently is not a problem. But the moment you have 2 males on screen,
Well,
there
one
will
of them
no
said something
doubt be
too.
red lights going on in the sort of BBC editorial suite, and more than likely some feminist cabal will immediately start writing letters.
You mean like Sue Baker?
Well, I mean, there was, something I mentioned in the week that was in just the last one, and that was the Brexit negotiations. That basically here are just about the most important negotiations that Britain is undergoing since the war, really. And, a great deal hangs on them. And 56 female MPs have nothing better to do than to write an open letter to the Prime Minister demanding that she do something about the makeup of the British Brexit negotiating team. Because only 1 in 9 of them is a woman. And that apparently is unacceptable. And you just go, I'm sorry, but these are absolutely key negotiations. Who cares about the sexual makeup of the negotiating team? You just simply want the best people there, and that's that. But
the feminists do.
to 56 MP, that is a sizable chunk of overall Parliament. This apparently is the priority. And that kind of shows where we have really gone wrong with these social justice issues. That if you are beginning to set such petty concerns above the actual interests of your entire nation, then there is something wrong with you.
Well, it's the same as the media, though, isn't it? With the recent deal that was supposed to be announced by Trump, saying that we're going to be having a deal with yourselves, a trade deal. It comes out that the media only want to talk about the issues with chicken. Obviously, you chlorinately wash your chicken.
Chlorinated
We
chicken,
wouldn't.
yes.
Yeah, and out of everything that could have been good out of the whole of that deal, that's what they focus on. Just one little bit, and that's what they focus on.
One thing that will be highly emotive and which they can kind of wave around, yes. Given that we're mentioning chlorinated chicken, given that we have someone here on the panel who knows a thing or two about chicken, so what's the chlorinated chicken all about, Mr. Ogre?
I'm not sure who brought that up, but I can only guess. If you're talking about after they have butchered the bird, is that what you mean?
Yes, precisely.
Yeah.
Well, then that's a very bad practice. So chicken tends to turn a little gray and it loses its color, when it sits on the shelf, about the time you should be throwing it to the dogs or whatever. Anyway, and so they will put a solution of maybe about 15 to 20% bleach in water, and they will soak the chicken breasts or whatever in that for 5 or 10 minutes to get that color back. But yeah, how do I feel about it? That's whoever would do that should be shot. I mean, the guy that runs the market close to where I live right now, who sells very quality meats, he was doing that. And somebody found out about it and passed it on to the community. And
the reason we bring this up is because this is in the news at the moment over here. Because, of course, the British are leaving the European Union with the Brexit thing. And we're now looking to kind of begin kind of exploratory negotiations with various other countries. Primarily, of course, the United States of America.
And Australia's already agreed as well.
Because there is a great, there's a great deal of trade between the US and the UK.
Good, yes.
And, of course, now comes sort of the questions, well, if we have some kind of free trade agreement with the United States of America, then we would possibly have to allow some practices.
Yeah, you don't want the pink slime either. We allow a tremendous amount, up to 25% of ground beef can be a product called pink slime. And that is so horrific, British. I don't even want to go into it right now.
Say that will be the sort of stuff which we don't accept at the moment.
I'm sure you wouldn't, yeah.
And as one of the others is chlorinated chicken. It's also
and they radiate things. They put them through microwaves to keep the meat looking red. They do
hormone grown beef.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
That doesn't happen over here. But of course, if we want some kind of trade agreement as such, then it would basically mean that there would have to be rules agreed between the two sides.
Y'all should vote against it.
The United States is much, much larger. And the United States is not really in the position that Britain is, whereby she will have very, very few trade agreements and will urgently need some, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I tell you, every British person should stand up and vote against the FDA or the agricultural Department of Agriculture, anything like that for the United States. Please, Lord, for your own good, stand up and say no to it, because they don't care about anything other than getting a product to you. They don't care about what that product might do to you. As long as it looks and smells like steak, they'll call it steak and put USDA on the side. Don't eat it. I mean,
lucky enough, our agriculture secretary actually stated that he wouldn't accept that in any deal anyway. So Michael Gove said that today anyway.
Here's something for y'all. In England, if you go to McDonald's, the French fries, I believe, have 4 ingredients: potatoes, oil, salt. Might be 3.
No, there's water in it as well.
Same with the hash browns. I think they have 4. I think they have 5 because they have a bit of chicken seasoning in there, a little bit of chicken stock. So anyway, in the United States, the French fries have something like 35 ingredients, and the hash browns have something like 40 ingredients. All of these things they put in there, British. I'm not going to go off into some wild. I have no tinfoil hat on today, so I'm going to deviate from what I want to talk about. But for whatever reason they do that stuff here, man, it's destroying our youth. It's destroying the health of our country. And don't let it over there.
I just thought I would kind of branch out into that because, that is where, because you sort of asked, you're not sure how we got onto that subject. That's why the chlorinated chicken kind of made it onto the subject here. It is because it is currently in the news, because it is very much being held up by the media as this kind of disaster. Oh, we've got Brexit and now we're getting chlorinated chicken. That seems to be the way that kind of, the Guardian seems to try and sell it to people at the moment.
Well, I'm sure you can have some negotiations, but I really feel like the Brexit will be a better thing for you all. I really hope, just knowing about a little bit about your food system. England is great. Great Britain's great. So is what's weird to me is we can't get lamb here in the States very easily. In fact, I never see it from Scotland, England, nowhere like that. We get ours from New Zealand and Australia. But also, man, when I go to the store, I'm not buying lamb from the United States, Brett. I only buy lamb from Australia or New Zealand. They slaughter it on the way here on the boats, and when it gets here, it's already packaged up. But anyway, you can tell the difference too, mate. You get something that was raised here, and it tastes like the idea of your mint jelly and lamb. It's not the mint jelly's there, but the lamb is just the idea of your lamb chop. If you get that stuff in New Zealand, it's just like when we were kids, when you know how you can kind of taste the grass, you know what I mean? And a good cut of lamb.
Well, it's no doubt Jonah Lomu will have been constantly fed on that, I'm assuming.
Oh Lord, looked like 3 or 4 of them a day, right?
I guess, as you can tell just from the chuckle coming from the Common Sense guy, that he's familiar with the man mountain that was Jonah Lomu.
Yeah, I taught him everything he knew, dude. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I once sent the Ogre a YouTube link of Jonah Lomu in action. Basically, it was kind of just wide-eyed amazement, as in, hang on a moment, that is humanly possible. It was.
I've used it a couple times already. His 10 best tries. I've used that a few times already in different ding-dongs about football, American football, and how tough the guys are. I just send that. I say nothing. I do no commentary. I just send that to him.
There's a couple of YouTube channels that have done the comparison with like the hard hitting. They've used a couple of his runs, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of a human battering ram, wasn't he?
Well, everybody just got right behind him, didn't they? And just kept on pushing him.
He was an amazing person. Well, but before we get off this too, because you know how much I'm into this kind of thing, Britt, what recompense will y'all have for this? I mean, I know you probably don't have much information, but would it ever come down? Would the people of Britannia be able to vote on something? What would you got to do about it?
No, there wouldn't really be a referendum or anything like that. It really is for the negotiating team to sort these things out, and then for Parliament to effectively ratify an agreement.
Man,
Luckily enough, both Mr. Liam Fox, the lead negotiator, and Michael Gove have both come out and said, we will not accept chlorinated chicken. So that's one good thing.
I think it's also the situation that the Conservatives are in power at the moment, and agriculture is very much, the farmers tend to vote Conservative, and the farmers wouldn't want that sort of competition to enter, whereby you wouldn't be able to keep apart the chlorinated chicken from the homegrown British chicken that's not chlorinated, if you know what I mean.
I wonder how that would fly. I bet the marketplace, since you said it like that.
Chickens can't fly, Ogre.
Well, Britt, if you juxtapose that government chicken next to the chicken dinner you're used to getting at your favorite eatery in town, you're going to know, mate. You're going to go, what is this funny taste, this chemically taste? You're going to know it. So I wonder if in the end, they just won't be able to sell it over there.
Well, the good thing is about, obviously, our country, Great Britain and whatever, is that they have all the bits where everything's always shown where everything is. I mean, they've got another bit that's coming up where you can scan on your phone and find out what farm the chicken or the dairies come from. So there's always going to be a separate bit in the packaging. You're always going to get, oh, this is made from Great Britain and this is made from America.
And if nothing else, like my cousin, I talk about him a lot, Brett. He runs this huge farm. All of their stuff is non-GMO. Everything. They have these big tanker trucks that's full of manure, liquefied manure. They don't use Roundup. They don't use chemical fertilizer. Everything he grows is already sold. His corn, he gets a $3 a bushel premium over any other corn. The soybeans, I forget, I think he said it's a $6 a bushel premium. And every soybean that they are yet to have grown this year is already sold to Japan. So there's always, and I know this is bad because you'll have this large part of your populace that won't monetarily have the ability to make the decision. But as far as the farmers go, if they were really long-sighted about it, it will only make them more money because their product will then be worth more.
It'll stand out more, really. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for example, I can sell my eggs for $4 a dozen for eggs. A butchered chicken, which I've yet to sell one because I can't bring myself to butcher the feathery bastards. But when I do, there are as many of them as I could butcher. $25 a bird. They don't care how big it is. In other words, they come get a clean bird ready to go in the pots, $25. And that's a lot of money for a chicken, right?
That's a lot of money for a chicken, yes.
So anyway, I mean, I could talk about this kind of thing all day because it's close to my heart in two ways. If we could only, I've read a really good study recently that says not only close to home, but if we ate all of our food within 100 miles from where we're at, it looks scientifically like we would be healthier. We would definitely have less allergies, less seasonal allergies and that, especially if you use dairy. If you use dairy, hopefully you get it. get it local. Anyway, you know me. I'll get so boring on this that the common sense guy will never be back.
Oh, I'll
Tony will
definitely
never
be back. I was just about to say that in most of the supermarkets, they have to buy local now. They're actually basically ordered by the government to buy local, so most of it actually gets produced and taken as local now.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I agree with you. It's better off having it local for a start. It's fresher.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite obvious that the person whose avatar is a cat knows where the milk comes from, isn't it?
Well, I've got to make sure I get my cream.
Yeah, I just was looking out. I'm not going to get up. If I had a little more energy, I would, Britisher. Next time, Friday, I'll have a little thing where I'll just show you I'll show everybody some squash and zucchini is what's really coming out right now. I grow this stuff I can never pronounce. It's from Italy. It's round zucchini, green. But boy, I tell you, one go, I picked over 150 of them at Monday. Or what was it, Tuesday? It's all blending into one long day.
This is with flu, yes.
But I tell you, it gives me so much satisfaction in so many ways because I do the work to get the food, which gives me exercise, fresh air, a responsibility, you know, a schedule that I have to keep, which is so important for people, Britisher. I think that especially the younger folks, Pony, like yourself, maybe, I'm not just saying you, but your generation, it seems that it's slipping away from, I'm going to do this at 9 in the morning. I'm going to, you know, I get up, I have my breakfast at 7. You know, I do this at 9, I do this, and boom, boom, boom. And there's no regimen. And human beings, I mean, we need to have a schedule. If we don't have a schedule, things start to fall apart.
Common sense guy, are you going to tell him or shall I?
About what?
It's called schedule, not schedule.
Well, it is pronounced schedule, yes.
What am I going to argue with the English guys about how to pronounce an English word?
Well, no, you are forgiven. You are forgiven. It is schedule in American English, but it is schedule in English. Yes.
It's not so easy to say that for me. Schedule. You almost have to have a lisp when you want to use it if you speak English. You know, the old fops back, 150 years ago, didn't they all talk with a lisp to seem a little bit more cool or whatever?
Well,
I think it was more poetic.
I think there is some kind of urban myth that, you know how there is a lot of lisping in Spanish? And there is some urban myth, effectively, that the Spanish king had a lisp. So in order to please him, everybody affected a lisp. And that's how the lisp in Castilian came about. Oh. But apparently that is complete nonsense. But it nonetheless makes a good story.
Yeah, of course.
We
like
I mean, to be fair, you guys also spell color and flavor wrong, so.
Color and flavor.
Well, now here we go. See, yes, yeah.
Well, let me get in. It's a spelling debate, Britisher. Let me throw my 2 cents in, right?
Well, it's basically, etymologically, we basically still indicate that those words come from French. Whereas,
color and flavor.
Whereas when it comes to also words such as honor, one might point out, or valor, but you know, in American English, one has just decided one wants to make it as easy as possible.
Did surrender come from French also?
Yes,
Sorry?
that's a definite.
Did surrender also? I was just messing
That's
up.
a definite.
No, just carry
Well,
on.
actually, that is also an interesting one. You know, Churchill's famous speech, you know, we shall fight them on the beaches. Basically, just about every single word in that speech, you know, is Anglo-Saxon English. The only word that isn't, apparently, is the word surrender when he says we shall never surrender. That's French.
Mercy's sake. That's funny. That's very good. Well, look, folks, I'm not going to let this go on forever. I don't really have much else that I'm going to bring up as other topics, but I'm going to be gone in 20 minutes. Keep saying that, but what am I going to do? You know what I'm doing, Brett? This is one of the things. Mrs. Ogre, she's not feeling good either. She's at work. I tell you what, Mrs. Ogre, she's so mean. She's Irish, you know. Or excuse me, Scottish. If I said that, see, I get stabbed probably. She's Scottish and English. I don't want to say her last maiden names, but the one is very English, the other is very Scottish. She is so mean inside that she will just refuse to admit to being ill. I can see her standing there in the kitchen yesterday sweating, sweating. It's not, the ACs are on. It's not hot in here at all, making this juice. And I'm like, you all right, Mrs. Ogre? You feeling okay? Would you like me to make the soup? She's like, no, go lay down, honey. I'm fine. I'm not sick at all.
Well, do you think that she may be working her way up to it at the moment? Because
no, she was ill.
It takes a few days before you kind of get it full on. So I'm just wondering whether by tomorrow she might just sort of, to use that French word, she might just surrender. Yes.
If she does, Britt, it'll be the only other time that she's ever missed a day of work for being sick, not calling in because she just wanted to not go to work. In fact, she makes a point of it. She only calls in when she feels good so she can do what she wants to do. We got salmonella poisoning one year from some turkey we made when we were very young, and we both missed 2 days of work. But that's the only time in 23 years that I've ever seen her miss a day of work from being sick. Flu, cold. She'll always tell me, well, I feel better moving around. But this was the whole point of that, was to gloat about my wife, because I tell you what, man, I look up to her like that. She is like, if we came to straight just destitution, Britt, we were in a box somewhere, living in the woods, something, she would be the one that would pick, oh, it could be worse, honey. This is great. This rabbit tastes good. Maybe we'll get some pigeons tonight for dinner. You know what I mean? That would be the way she was. She always is that way. But she makes juice when when that kind of thing starts going around her household, because even if she doesn't admit it, I know she's not feeling well. And this is carrots, and I don't know what else is in here. She made beets and kale, and just puts it through the juicer. And I'm not going to say it's a cure, but at least whenever I use this, I get the nourishment in me, and I don't feel like expelling the nourishment. I can hold it down.
You're basically you're doing a boogie. You're now on a liquid diet.
Well, I don't want to give another long, boring list like I did in the beginning, but here it is. Since Monday, I've eaten 4 of these little vegetarian sausage things from Morningstar Farms, this little fake sausage patties, and 2 bowls of Jewish penicillin, chicken soup with noodles, garlic, and onion.
I've never heard that one before.
Sounds,
Jewish penicillin. I love that.
That sounds really bad.
That's what it is. And I tell you, if I would have done it right, I usually make the soup with 4 chicken feet in it. And you don't have to eat the feet, but if you boil it up, the gelatin stuff comes out of the feet, and it gives it a good flavor. And that does something, man. It gives you a little something that you don't usually get. But I'm about
here's about we're about you bring up the thing is that Joy, who, if you don't know who she is, be thankful that you don't know who she is, because like the biggest. She has said several times that she respects and loves Boogie so much, yet she makes this whole video slap to the face to him about crying about how hard it is to be at the 1 pound over mark of being obese.
I'm not even sure what that is. That's not really even that heavy, is it?
No, she said she stays between 164.
You're talking about on the BMI,
and
on the body mass index.
Yeah, on the BMI. Yeah.
No, I think I might be 1 or 2 pounds to the obese side, or just under.
Yeah, when I'm putting out both videos because I had to make a 2-parter, A, because I was getting so angry, B, because my cell phone battery was dying, and that's how I record my videos. But I had to make a 2-parter, so I'm going to release them both at the same time and just put part 2's link underneath the description box. But constantly is saying, I'm 1 pound. She's full out hamming up and so hard to cry. But there's ever period. But the fact that she has said multiple times she has so much respect for Boogie, but then makes this video, is a slap in the face to Boogie, who goes through these issues and has every right to be emotional when going through the issues. She fluctuates from 164 to 165. Same video, she's like, I used to pride myself on the beautiful dresses I wear, and my body was this beautiful art piece. And that is like, okay, Okay, you are basically saying that every fat person is ugly by making that statement right there.
If there's a polite host award, Brett, I hope we get it one day, mate.
I'm sorry, I talk too much.
No, it's not that. It's your robot, and it's so hard. I want to hear what you're saying.
At times, you turn into a Dalek, and you become very difficult to understand because of the way your microphone is distorting your voice.
It's because there's like 8 different people in this house, and they're all probably using the Wi-Fi. Can you hear me now?
I mean, when I was then, so you have no idea what's going. See what I mean? It would be very difficult. You have no idea what's going on. And I want to hear what you're saying. Hold on. Interesting to the most part. Well, that's cool. We're going to get out of here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give everybody a chance to give their final words unless the British has got something else to say. And we'll probably boogie up on out of here because I do have one question for anybody. But you said something about using your phone to record. What is it with the has anybody noticed that there's a lot of folks that record themselves in their car? I didn't really realize this until I started following Clint, Big Red Clint from Review the Earth. And he does he's usually driving. He's got his dog there and he's cruising down the road when he does his video. And if he's not doing that, most of the other times he's sitting in his truck with his dog. And what is it with the inside the car thing? What did I miss on that? Why does everybody do that?
Well, I think it's once again, it's one of those things that people sort of feel cocooned and safe in their car. So I think it's kind of part of that. But at the same time, of course, particularly if you're in some kind of parking lot or whatever, you normally are in some kind of quiet environment. So if in your private home, you may perhaps have half a dozen kids steamrolling around and you can never get 5 minutes of peace, then perhaps just doing it in your car in a parking lot might be the best way of going about it.
I never even took time to think about that, Britt, because there's, you and I, if you had to do it over again, would you have kids?
What can I say to that?
Well, you could ask me. I would not, because you see, I didn't even consider that problem, Britisher, but because I've never dealt with it in 42 years, I've never dealt with it. I can't imagine. Oh, if that was too personal, I'm sorry.
I don't want children at all.
You don't want kids?
No.
Yeah, well, because it's all this guilt trip being put on us people. Like, do you have children? Common sense?
No. Me and my missus are not 100% sure if we can either, but that's a different issue.
Well, that's cool. But so here we sit, 4 males that have just come out and said, no, either we don't have kids or we don't want kids. I guess we're part of the problem. It seems like we're getting harangued lately, especially if you're white, man. Like my white friends that go out there and trailer park it up, they got 15 snot-nosed youngins. They're like, come on, Bo, what's wrong with you, man? Is your old lady barren? And I'm like, no, she is. Actually, she got her tubes tied when she was 23. That's how serious we were about it. And it took her a year.
Speak like that. They don't speak like that in Michigan, don't they? That was a kind of drawback back into good old Kentucky, wasn't it?
More North Carolina than Kentucky, but yeah. No, here I'll try to do what they would say is, my kids bring me a lot of happiness, eh? I don't know what me and the missus would do if I didn't have Junior running around with his pop, spilling it everywhere. It's just so funny, you guys. That was my best go at that.
That's his best go at Michigan.
Yeah. They talk.
If I ever had to have a child, I would have to adopt and have to be like 10 years old.
So it would have to be out of the kind of nappy / diaper age.
Yeah, pretty much. And
then if they're 10, you're usually get a troubled youth.
It would have to sort of turned into a kind of semi-matured human being.
I'd be all right with that.
I think I'd have to go a little bit lower. Mine would have to be about a 5-year-old. So it's got past all of the angry twos and the diapers and everything. But you've got a chance to actually mold that kid into like your own type of image type thing. But
I like that. I like that. No, I like how you put that there. That phrasing, mold him into your own type of image.
Yeah, well, you got to. They're your children, isn't it? You've got to try and put them to the best way you can be. And
I think we have now seen through, the common sense guy. I think his true name is actually Professor Higgins.
I think he's a bit smarter than what I am. He's got Professor.
Well, that alone doesn't.
I think it was actually. I think it was rather Eliza Doolittle who would be saying a bit smarter than what I am. Yes, rather than Professor Higgins.
I'm glad you picked up on it.
The actor who plays Sherlock Holmes in the British TV show.
Cumberbatch.
Which time?
Yeah, Cumberbatch. He has a funny last name. That's all I want to say.
All right, folks, that was it. That was my attempt at the show today. So what we usually do here, folks, this is both y'all's first time. So we talked about a few things today. Maybe while we were talking, there was something that was, on your mind that you wanted to get across, or you just want to wrap up what was said and put a bow on it. This is your chance to do it. I want to start with the pony and then go to Common Sense Guide, and the British will have a few words, and I'll have a few last words. Before we do that, gentlemen, thanks for coming by. Get your mic fixed, Pony, and you'll always be welcome back. Until then, we'll talk about it.
It's the Wi-Fi. It's the Wi-Fi. We have like 8 different people in the house, and I'm sure somebody's probably using Netflix. I'm sure. Yeah, pretty much. Don't be a prick to people, and they shouldn't be a prick to you. Out and basically say everything that I'm saying here. So yeah, that's basically it. Just be nice, dang it.
All right, and you got as much time as you want, everybody, on this thing. There's no time limit. So anything you got to say, plug your channel too when you get a chance, everybody that's here that cares to.
I think the only thing I've got to say is I'd just like to point out that everything is sexist and everything is racist, and you've got to point it all out.
All right, Anita.
My channel name is very simple. YouTube.com/GabeThePony. I'm a pony, and my name is Gabe. Seems simple enough. Seems pretty self-explanatory. But I know that some feminists probably check out my channel occasionally to make fun of me, and they don't necessarily have... you gotta explain it sometimes.
All right, I'm going to send both y'all's links out there. So unless you got something else, Common Sense, I'm going to shoot it on over to my partner. We're going to get out of here like a hot thief.
No, I'm okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, well,
thank you for letting me join us.
Okay, I guess sort of when it comes to, generally the whole sort of theme, when we're looking at people trying to lose weight and, other people kind of knowing it all better, I guess it really is just a matter of try to stop trying to live other people's lives for them, whether it be a matter of weight, whether it be a matter of what they ought to be permitted to see or read or whatever, whether it's a matter of what language they ought to be using, what terminology, what ideas they should be permitted to have. Just lay off. But basically, if you feel that you are the person who somehow needs to instruct other people how to live, then maybe, just maybe, you are the problem and not they. Mr. Ogre?
Oh, that's excellent, man. And I got really not much to say about the weight issue or the social justice warrior thing. I think British just put a nice bow on that anyway. What struck me the most today was the idea of what sounds like to me at knee jerk, and everybody should know now this is my chance to just talk, so don't cut me off or anything. I'm just going to give my 2 cents. If you don't agree with it, Britisher, you don't agree with it. But it's their slap on the wrist for the Brexit. In other words, you've done this thing that is now setting back this bringing of Europe together that benefits Great Britain, not at all that I can see. You've set that back and you've withdrawn from that. So now have some bleached up chicken, because chlorinized, I tell you, they try everything they can do. I don't know why chlorine would sound any better to anybody than bleach, but it's the same thing. They're just trying to package it to you so that maybe you'll still eat it. I see this as a way to say, you got your little victory. Now, if you want to trade with us, and yeah, it's with us, it's with the United States, because anybody that thinks that this country isn't a part of that, even though they're not in Europe, they're crazy. I mean, you go all the way back to, we can go way back to Charlemagne, but in this situation, I think about Israel. You know, we're always putting our nose in and messing about with things. And then if people don't do it the way that they want them to do it, well, there's got to be some kind of recompense. There has to be some kind of punishment doled out. And in this case, man, to me, it really smells like that. So do yourself a favor. If you live in Great Britain, or if you live in a beautiful country that I call home, especially in this beautiful state I call home, Michigan, go out and get yourself a couple lambs if you got the land. If you don't, go get it. Sell your apartment in town. Go get your little place out of town. Do the commute. Get you a couple lambs, get you a couple chickens. It'll be hard for you to kill them at first. Lord knows, I can tell you. But you can do it. Eat the eggs from your chickens. Eat the meat that you grow. Grow your own vegetables. Do everything you can. If you can't do that, if you just absolutely can't, well, then find somebody that does it already and get your produce and whatnot from them. You may say to me right now, well, it's going to cost me a lot more money. It reminds me of people saying, oh, if the price of cigarettes goes up this much, I'm going to quit because they're judging by the price of the cigarettes. Lung cancer costs a lot more than the cigarettes does. So if we, you know, if we really think about the cost of the food, if it saves you pancreatic cancer, if it saves you stomach cancer, if it saves you diverticulitis, if it saves you even your seasonal allergies or gout, you know, why would we make these decisions that a few dollars more here, a little bit more work over there, and you have something that will allow your machine to run a little bit better, maybe a little bit longer. I could go on and on and on about this, but I just once again want to thank so much to Pony and Mr. Common Sense for coming by. And as always, a Britisher, I didn't know if you were going to show up today because I thought you probably figured I was dead, so was going to catch up on some of your real life work and whatnot. But I sure do appreciate you being here, Britt. It's been a hell of a show. Remember, folks, be good to your friends, be good to your family members, be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because constant viewers, panel, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life, and your ability to get good old English food will depart from you.